Good evening everyone, and welcome to our first Teams remote meeting of Stanley Town Council. This meeting is taking place on Tuesday the 27th of October 2020 at 6:30 p.m. and is streamed live to YouTube. I'm Councillor Carol Hampson, Mayor of Stanley, and I will be chairing the meeting tonight. I would like to extend a warm welcome to members, officers, members of the public and the media who are watching this live stream. Before I commence with the formal business on the agenda, I would like to cover housekeeping issues for us all to follow. For those taking part in the meeting, could you please only speak when invited to speak by myself as chair. Keep your microphone on mute at all times unless invited to speak. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. Once invited to speak, please introduce yourself with your name and position unless you have already introduced yourself earlier in the meeting. If you are having issues with your connectivity, try switching off your video and use the audio function. If connectivity issues continue, you may have to leave the meeting and rejoin to get a better signal. Or you can call one of our officers. Their phone numbers were circulated at the end of the meeting etiquette email we all received. If a vote is needed, a roll call of councillors' names will take place. After your name is called, please unmute your microphone and state if you are for, against, or abstain. Then mute your microphone again. Please follow these simple rules as it will help us in running the meeting as efficiently as possible. I will be pausing briefly when questions and comments are being invited to allow members to register their intention to speak. As I have mentioned, this is our first Teams meeting of the full council, so please be patient should we encounter any issues. Thank you. Moving on to the formal business on the agenda. Item number 1 is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just been notified of one apology from Councillor Joyce Clark. I don't know whether there's anything from the floor.
Thank you. No more apologies. We move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest on anything on the agenda? No. We'll move on to item 3, which is the Mayor's announcements. The coronavirus pandemic is without doubt one of the biggest challenges many of us have had to face in our lifetimes. Things have been and also remain very difficult indeed. I would like to express my condolences to all those who have lost loved ones and been impacted by COVID. It is truly inspirational and a testament to the people of Stanley and surrounding areas, the way in which our communities, local groups, organisations, charities and businesses have responded to the pandemic. Teams of volunteers have responded in a whole host of ways, from making and delivering meals, collecting prescriptions, walking dogs, delivering shopping, running food banks, which have been a much needed lifeline for so many. I would like to place on record my sincere thanks to all of our communities for their amazing efforts. I would also like to place on record my thanks to our new town clerk, James Black, and the rest of our staff for their hard work. I would like to make a special mention to those working in the NHS, the care sector, and all frontline services. We are all so very grateful and proud of you. I would like to place on record our congratulations to those in our area who were acknowledged in the Queen's Birthday Honours List published earlier this month. Myself and our Deputy Clerk, Alan Tubman, attended the Louisa Morrison Memorial at noon on the 23rd of August, where I laid a wreath on behalf of Stanley Town Council in remembrance of those who lost their lives. There was no service held. Prior to exclusion of press and public in item 13, I will be announcing the time, date and place of the next meeting. Please stay safe, be kind and keep looking after each other. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 4 on the agenda. Councillor Timby, can I ask you to do the leaders' statements, please?
Thank you, Councillor Les Timby, leader of the Stanley Town Council. Firstly, I would like to welcome our new clerk, James Black, to Stanley Town Council. He's only been in place a few months, but he's been very enthusiastic and he's getting things sorted. I'm hoping he has a long and successful career with Stanley Town Council. COVID is still with us and is having a massive social and economic effect on everyone. I would like to thank all the community groups for all the hard work and support given by them to the community during this pandemic. I thank the volunteers of Anfield Plain Catchgate Community Centre, Packed House, South Stanley Partnership, St Stephen's Church and Quayton Houses Village Hall for setting up programmes to feed children during this half term. This highlights the government's lack of knowledge of the impact of their decisions that they make on the families of the Stanley area. I give an open invite to Boris Johnson and the Tory MPs of County Durham to come and visit any of these groups and see the hard work of these volunteers and see first-hand effect of not giving free school meals over the half-term and Christmas holidays. The economic effect of COVID to Stanley Town Council has been hard, but we will continue to support our voluntary sector throughout this pandemic. Setting our own budget will not be an easy task. We will explore every option to set a balanced budget. Decisions will be made that will not be easy, but they will be made in the best interests for the people of Stanley. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Timby. We'll move on to item 5, which is public participation. Do we have any questions from the public?
Madam Mayor, I can confirm that we've not had any public questions.
Thank you. We move on to item 6, which is confirmation of minutes. The extraordinary council minutes, attachment A. Who's going to do it? Jeanette's got Councillor Stevenson.
I would just like to propose that we take the minutes as a block, A to D.
Do we have a seconder? Oh, Mark Davison has got his hand up. Mark?
Thanks, Chair. Quite happy to take them as a block. I think that they're quite a simple set of minutes, so I'm quite happy to take them as a block and move that we accept them as a true record, please.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 7, which is committee minutes. Council to receive the minutes of the Finance and General Purpose Committee, which was held on the 10th of March.
Mark Davison.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
Thanks, Mayor. I move that we receive these as a true record.
Do we have a seconder? Les Timby. Councillor Les Timby, thank you. We'll move on to item 8, which is the full council meeting attachments F and G. Councillor Timby's got your hand up.
I propose that we ratify all the decisions as well as accepting the minutes. So I'm proposing that we that we ratify the decisions and accept the minutes.
And do we have a seconder? Councillor Jeanette Stevenson. Thank you very much. We move on to item 9, which is schedule of meetings. It is the intention with the reintroduction of council meetings to revert to the original schedule of meetings. All meetings are to be held at 18:30, with the finance and general purpose the second Tuesday of the month and full council the fourth Tuesday of the month. Members are required to note that there will be no full council meeting in December 2020 and no finance and general purpose meeting in January 2021. With the option of utilise Microsoft Teams as necessary to ensure the safety of all staff, members and public, the council are requested to consider and approve the proposed schedule of meetings. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Mark Davison's got his hand up.
Thanks, Chair. Like to sort of add another little bit of something else in as well, please, if we can, because one of the things that was disappointing about this year was that we lost our annual general meeting and we lost our annual parish meeting as well. So what I like to propose is that we I think James's documents has already said it today, to be fair, but that we say we're going to have our meetings on Teams until at least sort of the election time. I think that's what you said in the document, wasn't it, James? May or June or something like that. But also that we task the town clerk and the team to find a way of holding a parish meeting and holding the annual general meeting online, because I think we definitely missed them last year, and find out how we can do something similar to what we had planned with the local groups and things, how we'd funded to sort of show how the town council's getting on. So yes, I agree to note that, but I'd like to add that that James finds a way to organise a parish meeting in AGM, and we also agree to have the meetings on Teams until at least June 2021, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. Councillor Alex Clegg has got his hand up. You're on mute, Alex. Can you unmute? Alex, you're still on mute. Is that it? Oh, you've gone back onto mute. You must have. That's it.
I second the proposal.
Thank you very much, Alex. We'll move on to item 10, the COVID-19 response update, which is attachment H. Councillor Les, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, Les Timby's got his hand up to speak. Do you want to speak first, Les?
No, I'll let whoever wants to come in.
Alan Tubman, are you speaking on this?
Hello, yes, I did the report. I'll be very brief. I've
I'm assuming I'll circulate the report and members have the opportunity to read it. Basically, it sums up how we went about setting up the community support fund in the start, which includes how we set, where we got the finance from the strategic grant fund, from the events budget, from Stanley and Bloom and Good Fund. Basically, the things that we weren't going to hold throughout the course of, we knew we weren't going to hold. We've put that together with the strategic grant fund to create the overall pot. Also discussed how that was progressed and how we allocated money to the groups and the funding criteria that we used. We've also contacted all the groups about feedback. I know I was requested by some members, to make sure that we got a lot of monitoring and we got some feedback on how the groups have spent the money. To date, out of the 22 groups, I've had 14 feedback forms returned. I've done a quick exercise there where I've shown how the groups have actually spent that money. As you can see from the report, 69% was for running costs, which a lot of that was the intention of the report, was to make sure that these venues and the groups were sustainable throughout that crisis. So 69% was doing that. 17% has been spent specifically on COVID-19, issues that they've had to tackle with, and 14% has been spent on other essential works that they've been done in the building. I've sent reminders out for all the people that haven't yet responded, just the last couple of weeks, so I'll get them all back in, and if members request, then I'll be more than happy to do a more comprehensive report on the feedback back at a later date. I've also done a quick update on the Stanley Town Council and what we've done as part of here, both the Town Council operationally and also what's been happening at the Civic Hall. I think people's been aware that Packed House have been working from the Civic Hall, operating their COVID support service and the food bank. They've done an excellent job, as I'm sure everybody's aware, and not only running from here, but also supporting the satellite offices and the other support groups that's been going on throughout the town. Publicity was another issue that we did. I mean, what we looked at, we were working at the time, we were discussing with the EAP, Daniel O'Brien and DCC and the advice services about how to make sure that the people in the town were aware of what's available and what basically the money's been spent on, and what the groups have put that money to, how they have spent that. A lot of them we'd done previously had been done by social media, but obviously that doesn't cover everybody. So we decided in partnership to work with the EAP and produce a leaflet, which I think everybody's going to be blurry, which was sent out to every home within the town. That was jointly funded by the EAP, and obviously we had a lot. I've attached as part of the appendices the breakdown of the cost on that, just so I can identify where that money's been spent as far as that. But we did do a procurement exercise on the delivery and on the printing to try to get value for money on both of them as part of that. We ended up paying a little bit more on the EAP, but to be fair, our staff did a lot of work on logistics, etc., getting things together and getting things out the door. The only other thing I have to add on the COVID-19 is the memorial. I was tasked at the last meeting with looking at the possibility of having some sort of memorial for the people that sadly lost their lives through this, but also something to show the town council's appreciation, the town's appreciation of the NHS and the carers, key workers in support service that's been going on. I've spoken to the EAP. I've also spoke to the Bishop of Durham, or the Bishop of Durham's office, just to get an idea of what's going on out there. When I spoke to Durham County Council as well. EAP is quite happy to work with us and look to progress something on this. Very, very conscious on how delicate the situation is as regards to timing. So what I will do is I will keep members updated, either myself or James Black, the town, through meetings to where we are on this. But I can assure you that it is being looked at in the background, but obviously it's everybody is very, very conscious that it's timing will be crucial to get this right. Otherwise, if anybody's got any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them, or just members happy to note the report, and I'll get back with additional feedback if the request on when I've got all the feedback from the grants back. Thank you.
Thank you.
I okay?
Pardon? Yes, James, please.
Apologies, members. We seem to have an issue with the YouTube feed, so I would request that we, if the Madam Mayor is happy to adjourn for a few minutes so I can go and look at it, and then we come back.
Yes, thank you. No problem.
Right, we're ready to go.
Right, everybody, James is ready to go. We're going to start live streaming again. Thank you. There we go. Right. Alan, had you finished what you wanted to say? Councillor Timby has his hand up. Les?
Yes, I've
Yeah.
finished.
I'd like to thank Deputy Clerk for a very thorough report, explaining everything that we decided, where the monies went, to all the help that it's given, and the feedback is very, positive. I think it's a really thorough report about everything that's went on, and I thank them and keep bringing these good reports back to us, and I think it's a really positive thing.
Thank you. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Just to say, as someone who actually was part and parcel of volunteering for one of the particular projects that got some money in Catchgate and Anfield Plain COVID support project. Without that money, we simply couldn't have delivered the absolutely magnificent service that was delivered through Anfield Plain Community Centre. Not only did we receive the money from Stanley Town Council, which kept the doors open, but also through Stanley AAP, we got further funding. It's helped, Joan does a magnificent job with the food bank. It's kept the doors open for that to continue. And I mean, I was just absolutely, my heart was warmed by the response of the people in my particular area. Joan and I were volunteers and coordinators for that COVID project, and seeing all of the people rally around and work together to make sure that our very most vulnerable people were supported in this awful time. It was absolutely heartwarming, and it couldn't have been done without the funding that both Durham and Stanley councils actually gave us. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. It's lovely to hear. Is Councillor David Marshall, was he next on the list? Councillor David Marshall, do you want to speak?
Yes, Mayor. Can I thank you for your invitation to speak? It's David Marshall representing Craighead. I'm the Deputy Mayor and our representative as Armed Forces Champion for Stanley. I do not intend to go into the financial detail that's being reported this evening, extensive as it was. But it was with trepidation and a lot of thought into granting and funding our community resources to enable them to operate successfully over the last few months. With hindsight, this proved to be the correct decision, with several of them reporting that without our financial support they would not have survived. It is vital that the support for the Town Council is provided in the future. With that in mind, I propose we ask the support of CDOC and our MP in an effort to apply for financial help from the government to allow us to go on supporting our community in the way we have during this very difficult time. I move that we ask our officers to develop a bid and submit it on behalf of the Council, and ask our MP, Kevin Jones, and CDOC for their support in making this bid.
Thank you for that, Councillor Marshall. Alan Tubman, do you have is that your hand up, or did you forget to take it down? Right, Alan.
Hello, it's just to add just on what I said earlier. I think the report I did tried to cover everything, cram it all into one, which was difficult, bearing in mind the amount of stuff that's gone over the time. And I appreciate the feedback. It's very important to the members to know what was done. And once I get all that in, I will be prepared to do a report purely on that feedback if that's requested by members, just to let you know where that's at. Because a lot of that is really positive, and it would be nice to break that down a little bit more so people can actually see that. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. Can I go back to Councillor David Marshall's motion, what he put forward? Do we have a seconder for David's motion, please? James? We've got James and Alex, so you've got your choice. James, your hand was up first, so thank you. Right, we'll move on to item. Oh, we have to have a vote. Right. We're going to move on to a vote. So, James, are you going to do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to confirm that the motion is a letter to the government regarding the funding cost of Stanley Town Council, working in line with the CDALC and also our other local town councils and our MP. So if I'm going to read out councillors' name in alphabetical order via their surnames. If you are for the motion, please say for. If you are against it, please say against. Or if you'd wish to abstain, please say abstain. So we're going to start with the top. Councillor Christine Bell.
For.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
For.
Councillor Helen Clark.
For.
And Councillor Joyce Clark isn't here. Councillor Alex Clegg.
For.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Councillor Carol Hampson. Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
He's just messaged me. He's having connectivity issues.
Right, okay. We'll come back to Councillor Carl Marshall. Councillor David Marshall.
For.
Councillor McMahon is not here. Councillor Ballinaire.
For.
Councillor John Nicholson.
For.
Councillor Jack Pallas.
For.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully. Councillor David Tully. Is it? Right, we'll come back to.
Oh, say James, sorry, still on mute.
He's unmuted. Councillor David Tully, are you okay to take your mute off?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
Councillor George Wilkinson.
For.
And just going back, I don't know whether Councillor Carl Marshall is able to express his either way. Madam Mayor, based on the fact that we can't get a connection with Councillor Carl Marshall, it's a unanimous vote. So I would prove that we move forward.
Thank you very much for that.
Carol, you're on mute.
Thank you for that. You're frozen. We'll move on to item 11 now, the Just for Women. The council are requested to consider and decide on the request from the Just for Women Centre detailed in attachment I. Yes, please, James, if you want to speak on this one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As in attachment I, there's not a lot more to add to this. They are requesting the replacement of a current wooden shed. It meets the permitted development rules, therefore no planning permission is required. And the rest of it is detailed in the report.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson, would you like to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that Just for Women is one of the key charitable institutes in our town and area, and that this bid is has gone to our Stanley Fund, where it has been agreed in principle, dependent upon permission being gained from ourselves. So it's just to let everyone have that little bit of information.
Thank you for that. Anybody? Helen Clark, you have your hand up.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Helen Clark, Tanfield Division. Obviously, as Jeanette's just said there, we did have a proposal from them for the Stanley Fund. My only query with this compared to what was in the Stanley Fund is they're saying they're replacing an existing building, where in the proposal was to have another building. Can we just seek clarification on that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if you were to vote on this tonight and it was an agreement, obviously they would have permission to do exactly what is on the request. Obviously, if the grant claim is slightly different, then that would be up to the Stanley Fund and the panel to decide regarding that.
Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak? Has Mark got his hand up? Councillor Davidson? Can it see?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think that, notwithstanding what Helen said there, which I wasn't aware of, that there was a slightly different proposal went to the Stanley Fund. I think that if we can agree tonight that if they want to replace the existing shed in the garden with this new shed, then I think we'll be happy enough to do that. But if they want to add an additional shed, then I'm not sure how it's going to fit. So I think if we can agree tonight that they can replace the shed that they've got with a new shed, a slightly larger shed, then we could come back next month if that's not the proposal that they're looking to bring forward, because like I say, I'm not sure how it would actually fit in that garden, because the garden's not really that big, is it? So can we propose that we agree to let them put the larger shed over the top of the smaller shed, if everybody gets me meaning? Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson?
I would just like to second Mark's proposal there. The shed is going to be a training facility to help with COVID, so that classes can be smaller. It's also going to be on the ground floor because of accessibility issues, so that it's going to be accessible for all. And so I think it is a really good proposal.
Thank you for that. Anyone else wish to speak? No. Move to a vote again, please. Can I hand over to James?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, it's another recorded vote. So this is for the permission to replace the current wooden shed with a garden room. So Councillor Christine Bell.
4.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
4.
Councillor Helen Clark.
4.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
4.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
4.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
For.
Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall. Okay, once again, we'll go back to Councillor Marshall there. Councillor David Marshall.
For.
Councillor Ballinair.
For.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
For.
Councillor Jack Pallas.
For.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
And Councillor George Wilkinson.
For.
Once again, Councillor Carl Marshall. Again, Madam Mayor, that is a unanimous decision regarding, obviously, Councillor Carl Marshall, who hasn't responded.
Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to item 12, the Remembrance Services. I'll hand over to James Black for this one, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Remembrance Sunday is due to be held on the 8th of November 2020. In the previous 2 years, Stanley Town Council has organised an evening service on Front Street in front of the Beacon of Light in remembrance of those who have served in and with the British Armed Forces since World War I. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic has caused several issues nationally regarding Remembrance Sunday, with guidance from central government only being released on the 15th of October 2020. Remembrance Sunday is a national event that drives passion, patriotism and respect, specifically centred around armed forces personnel. County Durham has a long-term connection with the Durham Light Infantry, of which served as a light infantry regiment of the British Army between the years 1881 and 1968, meaning any event connected with the armed forces in Stanley is held in great significance. Large-scale events across the country have been scaled down considerably, and many local events have been cancelled, with public deterrents published, to reduce the risk of social distancing not being followed. Durham County Council, as of the 26th of October 2020, announced they will be lighting up in red 6 landmarks across County Durham in commemoration, including Durham Town Hall, Bishop Auckland Town Hall, the Butter Market at Barnard Castle, the Cenotaph at Poppy Fence at the Green in Seaham, and the War Memorial in the Marketplace at Chesley Street. It should be noted that the area of which Stanley Town Council serves is not represented in these landmarks. Officers within the council have worked hard to review all possible options of staging an event on the High Street in line with previous years. However, with so many problems associated with such an event and the requirement to resolve these problems within the current timescale and the increased responsibilities due to the increased turnout, track and trace guidelines, social distancing guidelines and Tier 2/Tier 3 restrictions, we do not currently believe putting on an organised event is feasible. The resulting impact on organising an event that turns out to be non-COVID safe, most importantly risks individuals' health, many who may be elderly or clinically extremely vulnerable, whilst any spike would result in a detrimental impact to the council's reputation from both a resident's perspective and as an event organiser with Durham County Council. Members should also note that following the review of possibilities, it has been established that works are needed to be undertaken on the Beacon of Light following its removal from its placement last year. It is hoped that the Beacon of Light will be permanently placed for Remembrance Sunday in 2021. Councillors will still be provided with wreaths to lay at the various local cenotaphs and memorials, and council officers will lay a wreath outside the Civic Hall. St Andrew's Parish Church are holding a limited invitation service, of which a member invite has been received. Councillors, it states on the agenda that you are being asked to note my report. However, I believe following the latest guidance, the directions from councillors is now required.
Thank you, James. I was muted, sorry. Councillor David Marshall, want to speak on this? Thank you.
Yes, can I say that I accept the report made by the clerk. With great difficulty I say that as Armed Forces Champion. I certainly would wish to lay my wreath in Craghead, like I've always done, and having organised the service at Craghead for the last 20 years, I can't see it going ahead this year. I think it'll be very unwise. Track and trace and everything else is putting people at risk. I do think it's important that if people want to lay a wreath at any time, even if it's not 11 o'clock, they should be given the opportunity to go and lay a wreath at the cenotaph. I think it's very difficult to say that, but I've got to. I've been locked down now for a good, well, since the beginning, since February, other than a fortnight when it eased off. Now it's got worse and I don't see it getting any better. So yes, I would accept your report and would suggest that we try and live stream the laying at the wreath by the mayor on the tube outside the council on the 11th of the 11th, with very few people attending that from our point of view.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Vala, you have your hand up.
No,
Vala?
thanks. No,
No?
I haven't. No, thank you.
It's okay, Nicola will turn it down. Does anybody else want to speak on this? Mark Davidson?
Thanks, Mayor. I seem to come in on every item tonight. I think the report that James has given is okay, but and I 100% understand, and the latest guidance that we were given as county councillors last week was, yes, please go and lay your wreath, just don't lay it any time near 11 o'clock, which obviously we're going to follow. But I think that there's a difference between the people who were, I was going to say in this room, but on this meeting at the minute, and the general public. So I think that the town council putting together some sort of statement or information or whatever, I don't know whatever you want to call it, that we can put out, whether it's on our social media, whether it's wherever else we can put it out on our website, to explain that because of the COVID regulations, obviously, and quote parts of them that say that that only people are going to turn up at war memorials who want to lay a wreath, which is one of the parts, isn't it? You can't even turn up if you've got somebody on the memorial but you don't want to lay a wreath. If we can sort of cut parts of that out, and James can make it into some sort of statement or whatever it's going to be, and then, like I say, we can put it on our social media, we can put it on like groups within Stanley, because this is going to be a big deal that people will be expecting. Either there'll be nothing on, or some people will be expecting it to be business as usual, which obviously it's not going to be. So I think we need to get more information out rather than just telling us at the meeting this is what the story is going to be. But and I think that it needs to be more related to the different events that are usually on. I don't know whether like David says, we can't have ours at Craghead because you have to go up a dozen steps, and those dozen steps are only a metre wide. So everybody getting in and everybody getting out's got to use the same steps. You get about 75 to 100 people at the top, and then it's full. So you have people standing on the steps, people standing on the footpath outside. So we can't do any of that. We can't have track and trace because, well, David organises, isn't it? And I help a little bit. So we haven't got do you know what I mean? It would take an army of volunteers to be able to do track and trace at all these events. So they're not going to happen. So I'm sure that the other staff know exactly where all the events are. I think that everybody else will be in agreement with me, hopefully, that that we won't be able to hold these events at our local war memorials, but the public need to know why we're not holding them at our local war memorials, if you know what I mean. So if, I'd like you to put something out like that, James, but I don't know if other people might disagree and think it's not our role, but I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Timby, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything Mark said. It's unprecedented times. People will be expecting. So if we get the message that it's something that we have decision we have taken lightly, but to safeguard the people through with the COVID situation that we're in, I think the more we can get out to say why, and it's an unfortunate time, and I'm sure Joan or somebody from Anfield Plain, they'll come in, and because I think their one is cancelled as well. Just, it is a shame. I think it's something everybody goes to and attends, so it'll be a sad miss off the calendar for Stanley Town Council. So I agree with Mark, get some publicity out there. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Timby. Who's next? Helen, you're next on, you got your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It was just to say that obviously I've been in discussions with our local church, because that's where ours goes. And obviously we've come up with something different this year. We've put one of our soldiers out, and I just plan to lay a wreath there by myself.
Thank you for that, Helen. Do we have anyone else with hands up? Alex? Councillor Clegg?
Yes, I just wanted to tell you all, I'll be attending St Andrew's Church like I have done for the last 8 years.
Thank you for that, Councillor Clegg. Anyone else got hands up? No. Right, we'll move on. As I said earlier, I was moving item 15 up to this position now, due to the way that the agenda's running. So the next item will be the date, time and venue of our next meeting, which will be Tuesday, the 24th of November 2020 at 18:30 via Microsoft Teams. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the exclusion of press and public. Mark Davidson.
Thanks, Chair. Can I move that we move into Part B and exclude the press and public, because there's going to be information of a personal nature, so people's addresses and like life stories and things are going to be discussed.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And don't need a second. Do we need a seconder or not? We got a seconder for that. James Kane, your hands up.
Yep, thank you. Sorry, it's just Councillor James Kane, just a second. Mark's motion there.
Right, thank you, James. We'll just give the clerk a bit of time to switch off.